Hi guys, welcome back to TV Spoilers. Today I'm going to reveal to you Mariah's escape plan that could cause chaos in Genoa. Patty Williams might disrupt Mariah Copeland's treatment at the psychiatric hospital. Will these two patients together create a new storyline? What will happen in the next episode? Patty Williams' arrival at Fairview doesn't feel like an ordinary transfer. One patient shuffled through paperwork, moved for stability, given a new hallway and a new routine. It lands like a match struck in a room that's already heavy with fumes, the kind of small, precise spark that can turn a fragile calm into a sudden blaze. For Mariah Copeland, Fairview was supposed to be the place where she learned how to live with memory instead of being hunted by it, where she practiced breathing through panic, where she tried to believe she could still be a mother, a daughter, a partner, something recognizable and safe, despite the past that once tore her apart. But Patty's presence cracks that hard-earned normal as if it were a wall patched too quickly, waiting for one touch to reveal the hot rot beneath. The danger isn't simply whether Patty is strong or weak, lucid or delusional. The danger is that she understands how to plant an idea in someone's mind and wait for it to swell into a storm all on its own. Mariah doesn't need anyone to remind her of Ian to feel fear. His name isn't just a person, it's a shadow that stretches across her life, a darkness that once made her doubt her own memories, her own feelings, even the goodness of the people who claim to love her. At Fairview, Mariah has been coached to name the fear, to face it directly, to separate it from her identity so she can stop living as if she's still trapped inside the trauma. Patty does the opposite. She doesn't help Mariah name the fear so it can be healed. She digs it up, drags it into the light like a trophy, and whispers that Mariah has never been wrong to be afraid, that her fear is proof she was betrayed, stalked, reduced to someone else's puppet. Patty makes therapy sound pretty words wrapped around a cold truth. If Mariah doesn't strike first, the world will strike her again the way it always has. That is the most lethal part. Patty doesn't have to shove Mariah with force. She only has to bend the way Mariah sees the world. Fairview runs on procedures, medication schedules, checks, group sessions, supervised walks. Those routines look dry and clinical, but they are a protective frame that keeps Mariah's breathing steady and keeps a boundary in place between memory and the present. Patty, with a history of escaping more than once, knows every system has weak points, and the biggest weak point is rarely a door or a camera. It's human emotion. She doesn't rush into action movie blueprint. Patty is more patient than that, more strategic. She feeds Mariah the sensation that Mariah isn't being treated but contained, that Dominic outside those walls is not safe, that if Mariah keeps behaving, keeps following the plan, she'll lose her son in a different way. Lose him because she's deemed unfit. Lose him because her motherhood is treated like a liability. With someone who has fought so hard to earn trust from her family and from herself, those whispers become both poison and painkiller. They hurt, but they also give Mariah the feeling of doing something, of refusing to be powerless. From there, the idea of saving Dominic begins to mutate. It stops being normal ache in a mother's chest and turns into an existential mission, as if failure to act immediately will erase the last human part of her. Patty watches that transformation the way someone watches a door slowly swing open. She doesn't need to invent new villains or introduce new twists. She only has to exploit what already lives inside Mariah: obsession, guilt, and the instinct to protect her child at the cost of herself. Patty encourages Mariah to study the staff's patterns, memorize where people tend to stand, notice shift changes, pay attention to the brief lapses when alarms ring and everyone moves in one direction. She packages all of it as empathy, as solidarity. Patty understands Mariah. Patty knows what it's like to be labeled by a system. Patty insists only they truly understand where the exit is. But the alliance between these two patients is always off-key in a terrifying way. Mariah came to Fairview to stabilize, to rebuild her life, to prove to herself and to the people she loves that she can survive trauma without letting it consume her. Patty comes in with something else in mind: disruption, manipulation, the thrill of turning everything into a psychological power game. When Patty keeps attacking Mariah's mental state, reopening old wounds, summoning Ian's shadow until it feels like a presence in the room, Mariah begins to lose the ability to separate warning from provocation. Patty makes Mariah believe her panic isn't a symptom to manage, but a mother's instinct sounding the alarm. Patty makes tears into evidence, sleeplessness into preparation, racing thoughts into the price of rescue. And once emotions are validated in that twisted way, Mariah finds it harder to control herself and easier to fall into a spiral of justification. I'm not unstable, I'm fighting. The tension at Fairview, then, isn't only about the physical risk of escape. It's about reality being reshaped inside Mariah's mind. Hallways stop being hospital corridors and become a maze designed to imprison her. The sound of locks stops being safety and becomes chains. Every reminder to follow treatment stops being care and becomes a command meant to strip her of motherhood. Patty only has to remain close long enough to sink Mariah's breathing to suspicion and rebellion. So the question of whether Mariah and Patty can escape the hospital sounds on the surface like the familiar kind of Y&R cliffhanger, but the real question is deeper. Can Mariah escape her own obsession? Patty may not even need a successful getaway to win. If she only needs to push Mariah into a breakdown, to make Mariah look dangerous, to extend her stay, to widen the distance between Mariah and Dominic, then Patty has accomplished what she does best, destroying someone using their own fear. The cold at Fairview isn't only the concrete walls. It's in the realization that the cruelest battles happen inside the mind, where no one can see them but the person suffering through them. The harder Mariah tries to stay calm, the more Patty has to twist. Because Mariah's calm is her proudest achievement, and Patty will always target what is most precious in someone else. And when I think about Mariah, what stays with me isn't just the suspense of whether an escape attempt will happen. It's the suffocating sadness of watching someone who has worked so hard to heal get dragged into an old swamp by nothing more than perfectly aimed whispers. Some storylines on Y&R make you angry, some make you thrilled, but this kind makes me feel something heavier because it reminds me of how easily progress can be erased if the wrong person shows up at the wrong time. In that razor-thin space where Mariah stands between the fragile trust she's built in treatment and the chaotic call of instinct, Fairview becomes a sealed box, and every step Patty takes sounds like a countdown. A plan to escape may be forming, but what truly chills me is the possibility that Mariah will convince herself escape isn't a choice. It's destiny. And once she crosses that line, no one will be able to tell her for sure whether she is running toward Dominic or straight into the psychological trap Patty has been patiently building since the moment she entered Fairview.